Hello and welcome back to Mike Solves, brought to you by Zombie Takeover TV. Please go and check out all their other shows and podcasts. Also, please check out my website, Mike Solves America. It's where you will find a written form of everything you hear on this podcast, as well as some other silly articles and news that I make up, and some really bad Photoshop that I'm particularly proud of on most times. But it's all there. Please go out, look for it, read it, share it, do whatever you want. I really encourage it. But my name is Mike. This is Mike Solves, and I am here to solve your problems, America. And we got a big one just right around the corner. And that's the 2020 election. And it's not just that election. I mean, it's all elections. That's where the problem is. Are you sick of these things yet? I mean, I sure am, all right? Like, for one, it feels like we just had an election. Less than a year ago, we had one. And we already have, at this point, with over a year and a half to the presidential election, we have 20 plus Democratic candidates that just finished up round 2 of debates, I believe. And there's probably, like 17 more? I don't know if they're going to Hunger Games this to the end or how this is going to work out. I just hope Jennifer Lawrence doesn't win. That's my only thought there. And of course, we have Trump, who hasn't stopped campaigning. The election never ended for him either. And if you don't think that elections are a problem in this country, then please, please, please take Lady Liberty's wonderfully proportioned strap-on out of your mouth. Stop sucking and just think about it for a few minutes. I mean, the only thing that seems to last longer than our election cycles in this country anymore is fucking baseball season. All right? And baseball isn't very popular anymore if you haven't noticed. And I assume that's because it starts before anybody realizes it and ends well after everyone's caring. And if that's any indication on where our elections are heading, you can see as a country, well, we're probably in a little bit of trouble. All right. Now, to make everything worse with all of this, I'm not sure if I'm the only one who feels this way. I know I'm not. That regardless of who is running and what the office is, you always feel like you're voting for the lesser of evils, don't you? At least that's what I do. I mean, I wasn't happy with either of my choices last election when it came down to it. And because of that, it seems like that regardless of what the outcome is, whether your party wins or the other person's party, everybody's pissed, right? Nobody's happy because we didn't have a decent choice. And, you know, the only thing more disappointing than most of our presidential elections and filled with like just as much crushing debt and impact on your life is getting a liberal arts degree in this country. I mean, you may feel good about what you accomplished when you got the degree, but like deep down, nothing's really changed in your life and you're still fucked. So this is where we sit with our elections, folks. And because we have such a problem with elections, the biggest thing that we have, the biggest problem with our elections is that at the end of every one, yes, we're all pissed, but we always end up with politicians. That's it. That's the problem. And you say, that doesn't sound like a problem. That seems like the ultimate goal. No, that's a pretty big fucking problem. You want to know how big it is? Well, think about it. Right now as a country, we're close to $20 trillion in debt. We may be more at this point. Hell, I don't know, but 20 trillion sounds like a lot of money. The government only barely avoids shutting down on a yearly basis. There's a double standard in laws and for lawmakers and the general public. People in this country go hungry. We overtax just about everyone. We're running out of resources, including oil and water. And the last time I checked, fucking water is pretty important. We're in a perpetual war that we're too scared to end. I mean, seriously, there are kids in high school born in this country who don't know what it's like for us not to be at war. All right. We spy our own citizens. We arbitrarily bomb other citizens' countries. Half the world hates us. Half the world wants all of our shit. Jails are all overcrowded. Roads are crumbling, and the land we grow our food on is quickly drying up. The air is dirty. Corporations dictate civil policy for their own needs. And no one, not anyone, can figure out why we've had more seasons of Survivor than reasonable discussions about any of these issues, all right? But fortunately, the fix for this is simple. If you want to fix all of these problems, you just have to get rid of elections. That's right. Fuck them. Throw them right out the window. No more elections means no more politicians, or at least fewer of them. All right. And don't get me wrong. We're still going to have people running the country. We're not going to keep the whole crew we got now permanently. That's not an option. That's off the table. All right. Hell no. We're not keeping them. No, we're just going to go about choosing the officials for our country in a different way. And ultimately, I think it's more democratic and more fair. This is what we're shooting for here, is something that is more democratic than what we have now. Ask all the people whose votes don't count on a yearly basis how fair our system is. And you'll see that our democracy doesn't speak for everyone. And if you're worried about missing elections or people getting angry that they're going away, don't fucking worry about it. No one, only best case scenario in a presidential election, 60% of the people vote. Usually it's more like 55. And when it's in an off year, it's even less than that. And I mean, shit, they practically discourage you from voting anyway. I mean, first of all, most voting sites are, where are they at? They're usually either at an elementary school or I see them a lot at old people's homes. Those are always a special place. So every time you go to vote, you're either subjected to watching someone else's drooling kids eat chicken nuggets, or you have to listen to old people fuck through paper thin walls at the retirement community. I don't know about you, but it only takes just a few years of that shit before you lose the urge to, I don't know, take an active stance in anything ever, really. It also really curbs the urge to procreate, which is an added bonus if you're looking for something, a way to prevent STDs and unwanted children. And really, what else sucks about voting? When you do vote, what do you get? What symbol do they give you to immortalize a traumatic experience you had of spending 6 hours in line in a place you either, A, in the case of an elementary school, didn't like the first time you were there, or B, in the case of the retirement community, a place you hope to die before you're forced to spend the remainders of your day there? What do they give you? You put up with all that shit, you have to take half a day off work. What the hell do they give you? A sticker. That's right, a fucking sticker. A plain old regular sticker with a flag graphic on it, or maybe a picture of your state and a checkbox. Either way, it doesn't look like it's been updated since Warner Brothers stopped drawing Bugs Bunny in blackface. All right. Last time I checked, I thought we lived in America. I thought this was the greatest country in the world. And I cannot believe that we can't at least muster enough together, pocket change together, to make these things at least scratch and sniff. It could smell like America. You could get them to smell like hot dogs, apple pie, and urine-soaked stairwells. At the very least, scratching your coworker's sticker would be a fucking conversation starter when you got to work. You just don't sit there and silently acknowledge the sticker as you go around stickerless and getting judged by their eyes. Anyway, this is how we pick our leaders then, that's it. And so if we're not gonna pick them via election, if we're not gonna do that, then we need something, right? Because we got to have someone at the wheel of this country when things go wrong. I mean, we have to be able to blame somebody. That's more of an American pastime than actually voting. If you look at it, we can't deny Americans this. We love shifting blame more than we actually like doing anything about it. So we have to have a way to pick people to lead this country, and we just have to eliminate these flaws. We just have to eliminate all the bad stuff about elections. And that's why we're going to go with something that's more uniquely American than anything else out there. We need a lottery, folks. That's right. You heard me. A fucking lottery. That's what we're going to roll with here. All right. And I'm going to take a quick time out here to pause and say, please don't waste your breath. If you want to write me a letter or send me a snooty comment, I'm sure nobody's that motivated who's listening to this, who want to tell me that lotteries didn't originate in this country. I don't fucking care, all right? It's really not important. Even if lotteries didn't originate in this country, and they originated somewhere in Europe, I believe in like the Middle Ages. We made them fucking great, all right? America made lotteries great, just like we did with pizza, all right? Think about pizza. Pizza was shit food to the rest of the world until America got a crack at it, right? I mean, and if you don't believe me on this, I got facts to back it up, all right? Ask yourself this. How many Pizza Huts did the Italians set up in China before pizza came to America? All right? Quick answer to that. 0. Fucking none. That's right. None. And you'd think Italians would have been the ones to do it, right? I mean, it is their food. But no. It took an American to make pizza the worldwide success it is. And that's what we did with lotteries. And that's why they are the symbol of American awesomeness. Where else in the world could somebody get rewarded with riches just for randomly guessing numbers? Only in America, baby. Only here. So just like pizza, we're going to make lotteries even more awesome by giving people the chance to run this great nation. And at the same time, we can fix all the flaws in our election. All right. So if we're going to have a lottery, we got to set down some ground rules for this lottery. All right. And we want to keep them simple. Again, too many laws, too many things can be corrupted. So we want as many people to be eligible to participate and help out their country as possible. And so we're going to go with minimal rules. And this is it. One rule. Once you turn 16, your name gets put into the hat along with everyone else. That's it. Then on election day, we randomly draw names out of the hat until all the elected positions in the country and your locality and your neighborhood or whatever are filled. And you know what? Fuck it. We'll even throw in the Supreme Court positions and the president's cabinet just to make sure one group doesn't get too powerful and set things up. That's how we'll do it. Just 16. And now you may be wondering also, you may say, Mike, 16 is too young. Why did you choose that? Unfortunately for you, I made a list. All right. Number 1, at the age of 16, okay, most people are still too young to be cynical and jaded. And this is important here. I think a little bit of that youth and hope in government might be a good thing for a change instead of the rotten rat old bastards we have in there now. Second, 16-year-olds, we trust them to drive in most states in this country. We put them behind the wheel of several tons of steel that can kill a human being. And I feel like if we're willing, and then we drive out on that same road with them. And I feel like if we're going to give them that sort of responsibility on the highway, it's time to stop fucking around and just let them have a say in how the show runs themselves. Another thing that I think is important is that when it comes to 16-year-olds, some of their friends are the 18-year-olds who are constantly getting sent off to war right now by some old cunt bag or bag of dicks that thinks they're being personally threatened by the Middle East's version of a crazy oil tycoon. I really think having a voice for the youth who actually die for our freedoms might be a good first step to stopping wars. All right. Also, I feel like this is important as well, important to state. In some states, it's legal for adults to fuck 16-year-olds. And it only stands to reason by me that 16-year-olds should be allowed to fuck them back and defend themselves when called upon. And really, this might actually be the best one if we really care about our youth. After seeing up close and personal how dysfunctional the government really is, any kid who is selected would be sufficiently motivated to do well in school so they never have to get into a career in civil service. All right. And that's the rule, 16. And now I know at this point, some of you, and I've had this conversation with people before, and it sounds like these people have never had more than a handful of fun in their lives. And they like to mention that people chosen by a lottery system would have no experience in government, and the country would go to hell in a handbasket. Everything would end. And I really don't know what show these people have been watching for the past, fucking forever, right? But our country is pretty fucked right now as it is. I invite you to look at the list of problems that just got rattled off about 10 minutes earlier. And let me remind you, that list of problems comes from people who are running the country, who tell us that they know what they're doing, that we should trust them. I really don't think it's outside the realm of good common sense to say that these people are either compulsive liars or they're too fucking stupid to understand what doing a good job actually means. I mean, seriously, if someone is as dishonest as a politician or that mentally handicapped, maybe the rest of us shouldn't be taking their advice when it comes to the laws we use to govern ourselves and how we might replace them every few years. And think of this. A lottery system has a lot of advantages over our current system too. First of all, the brevity, which was mentioned earlier, which would mean no one would have to suffer through political ads. What seems like now September and October, which really all those seem to do is want to drive you to the gun store more than the polls. And with all that empty airtime that we have now in October, before Halloween, all of the American businesses could do what they love doing more than anything else. And that's advertise for fucking Christmas. And the best part about this as well is if everyone is eligible to hold office, you wouldn't have to ever worry about lobbyists or political action committees trying to buy candidates through campaign support, which is a lot of what you hear now. Get the money out of campaigns, make them transparent. No one can figure out how to fix that problem. But the lobbyists, they couldn't pay us all. They could, and I'll give my address if they want to start mailing checks to see how this works out. But why not? At least it gets rid of the money in politics. All right. So we've got the nuts and bolts of this thing down. You only just have to be 16, and then we're going to draw your name out of a hat. And all you have to do is be a resident of the country. Notice how I didn't say citizen. You just have to live here. That's it. Now, I know that some of you are probably throwing a fit right now, and that worried that at some point, like some illegal immigrant might get selected to some important office in this regard. First, let's just point out that the chances of that are really slim. I mean, overall, illegal immigrants make up less than 5% of the population, I think, at the last count. So really, there's a 1 in 20 chance of that actually happening. And second of all, I mean, if you think about it, these people, most of them risk their lives to come to this country to have a better life here. If there's any one group that's personally vested in making sure America is said with envy and, let's be honest, disdain around the world, it'd be immigrants, even the illegal ones. Shit, man. I mean, granted, I will say this, it does open the door, leave a remote chance of like a homicidal maniac getting chosen for president. But again, I'm not that worried because, like I said, with the immigrant situation, math is on our side with this one. All right, there aren't that many crazy people out there. Plus, I mean, in this country, we already have a history of assassinating the good men who try to lead it. So I'm pretty sure that if we got one crazy one, we could handle a bad one with little to no guilt. So literally, I have to emphasize, 16, that's the rule. Nothing more, nothing less. That's it. You're here and you're 16, you're eligible. And we're going to keep it that simple because we don't want to detract from the show. And now let's talk about the show. And yes, that's right, folks. There's going to be a show involved in selecting the names. First of all, there has to be, right? I mean, we still have election night news shows that would have content they have to fill, and we can't deny them that. But we can at least make it exciting, right? I mean, let's do it right, America. This is what we do. And I feel like the presentation here might help sway a lot of you who are still on the fence. First thing we're going to need for the election night show is a giant felt top hat. And I'm talking fucking huge here, all right? Let's just say it should be big enough to sit on Lincoln's head on Mount Rushmore. Hell, when we're not using it for elections, we could just nail the hat to good old Abe's head just for show, couldn't we? I mean, the man's always pictured with a hat. I've never seen a picture of him without a hat. Kind of like the way we always picture Jesus as white, right? So let's just go ahead and buy into the myth and make it a reality. This is America, all right? We make dreams come true here. Now, I know you're going, well, wait, why the fuck do we need a hat? And it's simple, man. Think about it. Hats are what you draw names out of when you're selecting for anything from when you're a kid to who is it when you play hide and seek to who your sex partner is at an orgy. All right? It is the universal sign that things are being done fairly, if not democratically. All right. That's why we need this hat to be huge. It needs to hold every eligible name in the country when written on separate sheets of paper and folded in half. And again, we're folding them in half because that is the universal sign of fairness and anonymity in the drawing. Now, piece number 2, equally as important as the hat. We need some women with big tits. I'm really not worried about this part, all right? And before anybody gets up in arms about how sexist that comment was, and I will fully acknowledge that it is, but we're going to cover why we're doing this. I'm not worried about the women with the big tits. I mean, we seem to have more of these in our country than anywhere else in the world. We're in no short supply. But we got to do this because if this election show is going to be televised, we want people to watch, we're going to need some titties. All right. Plain and simple, titties sell. And is that sexist? Yes. I understand that fully and totally. But sex sells. The last time I checked, every TV show does it. Um, and the last time I checked, they don't have pants for men that create ball cleavage. Um, if they do come out with it, I'm ready to rock with that. But for now, we'll just have to stick with the chicks with the cans. All right. Now, third piece, and this is part of the theatrics of the whole thing. We got to dress those women that we have, and it'll be a totally respectable job, doing their country a great service. These women who are going to be at this event, we need to dress them up like rabbits. And I don't mean like Playboy bunnies or anything like that. Absolutely not. I want these women to dress up like actual rabbits with giant furry jumpsuits on. I mean, obviously, though, they have to be low cut. We need the cleavage because, again, ratings. But we've also got to make sure that attached to these rabbit costumes, we also have oxygen tanks. They're definitely going to need oxygen tanks. And we'll get to that here in a minute, too. And yes, if you're wondering why the women need to be dressed like rabbits, I should stop and explain that. Because what gets pulled out of a hat more than names, or just as equally as names? Rabbits, right? That's why we're going to put the women who are dressed like rabbits with the oxygen tanks, down into the hat full of names. All right. And they're just going to start grabbing the allotted number of names assigned to them as they're swimming around in there. Just grab, grab, grab. This is why all of this is so important. And then to top it all off, we got to get them out of the hat. We just can't have them climb out of the pool of names, I guess you could say. What's the most fun anyone can think of from their childhood? One of those giant reach and claw grab arms. Yeah, the same thing that you pumped hundreds of dollars into as a kid just trying to win a stuffed purple hippopotamus. That's going to help determine our leaders. A giant arm will reach down into that hat, grab one of those women as they grab a sheet of paper and pull them right up to the top. You're going to have someone out there reading the names, but bingo, that's it. That's all you need to do. Instant government. There'd be no corruption. Certainly none. Women wouldn't be able to see what was going on down there in all that paper. It'd be too dark. It'd just be grabbing names at random. Not only that, it'd be plenty of fun to watch too, I think, right? I mean, we could even do bigger portions of the show, They could cut to local news stations once they get a name, Bob in Boise, Idaho. They cut to the local news station, just goes racing around town to bust down the guy's door who just got picked for a particular office, like senator or president. Imagine how much fun that would be. Acceptance speeches, giving him bathrobes, or kicking in the door of some pretty gal on the shitter. Make for some great TV. I imagine it inadvertently solve one other problem too. Because I bet as those news crews are going around the country, they'd catch some people in some pretty compromising positions. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. At least all of the dirt would be out on them from the very beginning. There'd be no hiding it. None of our officials could ever get blackmailed or forced into any shady dealings because we don't know that they were just a normal prick who occasionally likes to take Jell-O shots off a stripper's ass that's dressed in his grandmother's old nightgown. I mean, that's, normal stuff, like the rest of us. And we wouldn't expect anything from these people either. That's what would be great, because these people never would have asked to have been leader. They never pretended to be better than us. They would have just gotten their name randomly drawn out of a hat. And that's powerful. We wouldn't have the worry of expectations to put on these people, nor would they feel obligated to perform to any sort of standard that they couldn't possibly deliver on. And I feel like it's with that honesty and open government would just reign supreme across this great land. Would become once again a country that's quite literally for the people and by the people. We would be better off. Or maybe we wouldn't. Who knows? Would all of our problems be solved? Would this fix the environmental problems we have, solve the national debt? Maybe. Maybe it would, maybe it wouldn't. Maybe we get lucky. But at least with this lottery, there's a chance that the right people could get in there. There's a chance that they could work together. And that would give us hope, which I think is at least more than what I have right now. Thanks a lot, guys. This has been Mike for Mike Solves America, solving elections. Please feel free to share, do whatever it is people do with this stuff on the internet. Write hateful emails about it, how short-sighted it is, whatever. It's cool. I appreciate you sharing a few minutes of your time with me, and I'll see you again later.